This is Komets Corner.
All right, it is holiday week, and have we got a present for you? So much Komets hockey to talk about here on Komets Corner, brought to you by Lee's Famous Recipe. He's Shane Albahrani, the voice of the Komets. I'm Glenn Marini, and I want to dive into the elephant in the room that everybody's talking about. Yeah, we barely have room in the studio.
Where?
We barely have room in the studio, spacious studio, for the elephant. A lot of people are talking about it, a possible strike from the Professional Hockey Players Association that would affect the ECHL after the Christmas break, after the games following Christmas break. I know it's obviously a tenuous situation. What can you say about the situation at hand? Because, people want their hockey, and they want their Komets hockey, and this would be a huge bummer going forward.
As do I, but unfortunately, in my position, I'm going to say the most politician thing I've ever said in my life, but no comment, because there really isn't anything to comment on at the moment, because it is a fluid situation. Everything is going on between the ECHL and the Players Association, and me just being a lowly broadcaster, all I can do is just kind of sit around and wait as well.
Is this something that you thought, or people thought, maybe David thought would happen when the bargaining agreement, the collective bargaining agreement, ran out in the summer? I mean, because it's been 6 months that they've had to discuss this and go back and forth. More than that, if you count before that. But since the agreement ran out 6 months ago, is this something that, I don't know, people saw coming down the pipe if you're, a higher up, an owner, or, involved in the ECHL on a certain level?
Yeah, I mean, I really can't speak for anyone on that level, but, when an agreement like that expires, of course, that is always going to be a possibility. But, the fact that they've been working through it the past 6 months, I think, is somewhat of a good sign, because, it has been 6 months. But unfortunately, we don't have an agreement. And, I know I was kind of blindsided by it. We all kind of are. But again, it's a fluid situation. It's changing now, maybe by the hour. But I'm getting information just about as fast as everyone else.
When you've talked to the players, have you had a chance to be around? I mean, you had 2 home games this past weekend, to be around the guys and get kind of the feeling or the vibe. Like, how do they feel about something like this going on? Because, they want to return. They want to play hockey, too. They want to get paid. Nobody's out there to not get paid. So what's the vibe around, the locker room, and how the guys are reacting to maybe some of this?
I mean, it's something that, I certainly don't discuss with the guys. It's something that, for what I do, I don't need to discuss it with the guys. But all I know is that, being around them, we had a road game in Bloomington on Wednesday. We went out for a Christmas dinner Thursday night, and everything was jovial, fine, just like any other game. So I didn't feel any tension or anything like that. So when I say, kind of blindsided, it kind of was. But again, I don't know, the players, this is all, secretive, with their group. So, I mean, as far as vibes and everyone seemed to be happy, everyone seemed to be happy.
Well, you take a look at some of the things that are being discussed. One of the things that the Players Association is not happy about is playing 3 games in 3 nights. You look at that on different levels. That's a lot of hockey in a very short amount of time, and obviously you want to take care of your body, and the guys have to do what's best for them physically, and that you don't see that on other levels. When you see the AHL, I think I read in the Journal-Gazette that the Komets have 3 back-to-back-to-back sets this season, or excuse me, have 12 back-to-back-to-back games this season, and the Condors and the Edmonton Oilers don't have any. So as physically tolling as this game is that something, how do you handle back-to-back-to-back games? Because I imagine there's a lot of honey tea and whatnot that goes on.
Yeah, I try and take care of myself. I make sure I try and stay in shape. I get plenty of exercise, rest, and everything like that. I take care of my body just like the players.
Performance-enhancing drugs, obviously.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But
I go to the Netherlands and, those injections and whatnot, but yeah.
But it's something that has been addressed in the past. 3 games in 3 nights is nothing new to this level of hockey. But one thing that has cut down over the years is the travel, because we would play 3 games in 3 nights in 3 different cities. We're not doing that like we used to. Sometimes it's 2 games and then 1 game in another city. A lot of times it's 3 game sets now. So the league has taken measures to cut that down. So
I have noticed that over
Yeah.
the last few years. There have been less weeknight games as well, but that limits the travel to a certain extent and kind of gives you a normalcy when it comes to a given week. Okay, so let's take a look at the upcoming schedule, hoping it goes off as planned. My understanding is that if there were a strike, it would be after these games this week, right? Like
again, that is we don't know.
Tenuous.
Tenuous. You said that's a good word. I can't spell it, but it's a good word.
That's what they pay me the aggressively moderate dollars for. Let's take a look at the schedule again because Komets are going to be home for the holidays. We're talking about Friday against the Indy Fuel at 7:30, Saturday against Toledo, another one of those 3 for 3, and then Sunday against Kalamazoo. We talked a little bit about this last week. It's always dangerous, that game before the Christmas break. We'll get into that game against Cincinnati here in just a little bit. But coming back from Christmas break, I always feel like, man, there's a little extra pep in the step, and that could be the case this Friday against the Indy Fuel.
Yeah, you get a little bit of rest. This break is actually, we got an extra day because it didn't play on Sunday like a lot of other teams. So the break actually started Saturday night. So we're playing the day after Christmas, which is, kind of a bummer because guys got to travel now on Christmas Day. No, I think, much needed break. I think you kind of see the last couple of games, especially there at home. Again, you're playing a lot of games and you're going to get gassed. And I kind of think we kind of ran out of steam a little bit. But you're also facing two teams that are below you in the standings. They need some points, so they're digging in their heels. And you've just, again, it goes back to the series in Florida. You got to match their intensity. And sometimes I think over the past couple of games we haven't done that.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Wednesday. We'll rewind, take a little look back at Wednesday because you go out to Bloomington with a rare weeknight game Wednesday at a Bloomington team that has improved this season, that is challenging for the top spot in the ECHL Central Division, and you go there and you get a win. So tell us a little bit about what happened on Wednesday in Bloomington, what you saw in this road trip to get the week started off right.
Yeah, this was a team that's hungry. They are much improved. They actually had a lot of injuries right now, call-ups with the New York Rangers. So they were coming in a little bit depleted in that game, but they came out and took a 2-0 lead. We just weren't. We took a couple of bad bounces, and maybe we just weren't ready to get started in that game. But down 2-0, you managed to come back, claw back, and get a win. And that was a really good game for the Komets. Again, when you come from behind like that, that's gonna kind of get you charged up. That was the best third period I think we've played all season. I've been very critical of our third periods this year, but that one, going in down, and you had to get a couple goals, and it was a gritty win. And I noticed in that game, I think our passing and our timing has been a little bit off, but again, that goes with guys being out of the lineup, coming and going. James Stefan is not there. Jaden Grube missed another game. So I think our passing was much better in the third period, and I think just the overall vibe of the team, we went back to excellent forechecking. We were really good in front of our goaltender, and when Nathan Day had to make a big save, he was there. But this Bloomington team isn't going to go anywhere. They're a very good squad, and especially if they get a lot of guys returning after the break, they're going to be in the mix for the top spot in the league.
And when you take a look at some of the guys that really stood out in that game, you saw Janicki get a goal, Zach Jordan, Josh Grohl gets his 6th of the season, and then, of course, Odin Tufto with the game winner. Talk about Odin in just a second, but when you take a look at, most of these games, Komets are out shooting their opponents, and they did in this game 33-17. You mentioned Nathaniel Day, 14 saves in this one. But how crucial is it to outshoot a team? Because we look at that and we always say, oh, look, they outshot a team X number of shots. But the key is opportunities that are of quality.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe. And just because you outshot a team 33-17 doesn't necessarily mean you had the same type of quality looks at scoring a goal. So it's kind of a, you can glaze it over, but I mean, what kind of opportunities did you see this team create offensively? Because they looked pretty good, especially in the third period, as you mentioned.
Yeah, like you said, there's no correlation between shots on goal. It's got to be quality shots.
Yeah.
I'd rather see 15 quality shots outside of 40 shots on net. I reference a game that we played down in Savannah a few years ago where we had over 50 shots on goal, and I don't think any of them had a chance of going in, and we were shut out that night.
It looks good on paper.
It looks great on paper, but you're not out chancing the other team. So it's what you do with those chances. And Nathan Day is a good job of corralling rebounds, and that's where a lot of chances come from. But I thought Wednesday, our breakouts were great. We were really good in the neutral zone, tape-to-tape passes, and that's what you have to do. You had a really big goaltender in Hugo Alás, who is like 6'8", 260 pounds. He's bigger than some of the cars I've owned.
Is that the biggest goaltender
That
you've
is
seen
one
in
of the biggest
ECHL?
guys I've
It's
ever
gotta
seen.
be.
And he's a guy, who takes up a lot of real estate. You're not going to beat him with a shot from, top of the circle. You have got to get him down, moving side to side, and they knew that. So how do you do that? Well, you pass the puck around the perimeter, you get him moving, and then you look for your shot, and then, of course, you have to hit the net. So the guys being accurate as well with their shot. Okay,
so Odin Tufto gets the game winner on Wednesday in Bloomington. Next thing we know, he's on a boat to Germany. So Odin Tufto signing with Ravensburg in Germany. Did the Komets see that coming? Did everybody see that coming, or was that something that was expected? Because we followed Odin, since the injury, that spiral fracture, and it just looked so nasty against Iowa last year. And when he finally got it going, it was like, all right, man, we got Odin Tufto back, great face-off guy, and then all of a sudden he's headed over there. Is that something that the Komets saw coming as a possibility when he returned from that injury?
Yeah, Coach Jesse Kalicki said in an interview with myself that it was very transparent that this was going to be in the plans. He was planning to go over to Germany if that injury did not occur. So that was already the plan. So what they worked out, there was no hard feelings. There was no nothing. Jesse even said there was handshakes, a little bit of tears, hugs, and all that stuff. So certainly no ill will. It's something that happens in this league quite often. It just does. It's something that we deal with around this time every year. Guys will get that call to Europe, and off they go. At the end of the day, as we know what we're going through here, it's a business. So everyone is kind of looking out for themselves.
You got to. And what do you do to replace a guy like Odin? Obviously, we didn't have him for a lot this season, but I mentioned how good he is on faceoffs. He could be a point of game guy in this league. When you take a look, he's an offensively skilled guy, not a huge guy, but an offensively skilled one. How do you replace somebody like him? I know the rosters are always in flux. We'd love to have James Stefan back, but you take a look at Odin Tufto. How do you replace a guy like that, a forward that can be so versatile offensively?
Well, Jaden Grube, Odin came in the lineup right when Jaden Grube went out. He's still showing the ill effects of that slew foot from a few weeks ago in Toledo. And we won't touch that one. That he did not get suspended, but Jaden Grube missed 5 games, counting 6. He came back, gave it a go Friday night, unable to go on Saturday.
Who for the Komets got the slew foot last year and had
that was Jack Gorniak. Gorniak took in one early in a game against Kalamazoo, and he was suspended for a game.
Yeah, they do not take too kindly to that.
Yeah, that is one of those plays. Yeah, that will draw the ire of anybody. But no, Jaden Grube, he's been a great on the dots. He's a big body, and it just kind of came about that Odin got in the lineup right when Jaden was going out. So hopefully after this break, Jaden Grube will be back in the lineup. Okay,
so Odin Tufto goes to Germany. One guy that is from the Fort, stayed in the Fort, and is still in the Fort is Kaylee Schrock. He's doing some really good things with the Fort Wayne Spacemen. They had some big news recently about moving up a level, which will give some more local hockey players an opportunity to get seen, maybe get those D1, D3 scholarships, and we had a chance to chat with the Komets Hall of Famer, Kaylee Schrock, about the excitement with the Fort Wayne Spacemen. All right, Kaylee, so some big news coming up for the Spacemen. Just tell us a little bit about what's transpiring and what it kind of means for hockey and what it means for the Spacemen in general.
Yeah, absolutely. The Spacemen, we're going to make the jump to the NCDC level, which is a Tier 2 level. Really gives our kids an opportunity to get scouted to become D1 athletes and NCAA Division 3 as well. So it's a huge step for our program, and we're going to have a division here in the Midwest that'll be very competitive. But yeah, it's really great for the local kids that really now have a path to high-level college hockey, potentially even Division 1 right here in Fort Wayne.
So what does this mean for the players that are currently on the team?
Yeah, I think obviously our younger kids, they're going to have an opportunity this year to finish out the year at Premier and then hopefully make the jump, some of the better ones, to our NCDC program. It's still too early. We have to learn the rules and regulations on how we can draft and tender certain players, but we'll find all of that out quickly here within the next week or so, and then go from there. But for the players that it can come back next year, yeah, I mean, they can basically our option right now, our goal as a team is to move kids to a higher level of juniors, but for them to be able to continue on and stay in the same, with potentially the same team, they don't have to leave to do that.
What was the process like to make this happen? What was kind of the timeline, and how did those discussions kind of go to get to this point?
I'll just say, like, there's been a lot of back and forth, but we have a great leadership group, and we're very lucky that they've support this, because there is going to be a cost on the financial with the expenses as far as recruiting, some different rules, obviously playing at a higher level that we're going to have to abide by, that our ownership group is willing to support, and we're very thankful and blessed that they're giving us that opportunity.
For you, it's kind of been on the ground floor of the Spacemen. What's it like to see this program continue to build and then offer, more opportunities, another opportunity for guys like this coming up?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think whether you're a coach, a player, or just part of an organization, you want to be at the highest level possible. So for us to grow as a program, it's a microcosm of what we want for our players, right? To be at a higher level, and to provide ultimately the players in Fort Wayne and Northeast Indiana with a high level of play right in their own backyard.
Anything else you'd like to add that I didn't touch on?
Thank you for doing this.
Kaylee Schrock, one of the all-time greats, super fan favorite, great guy, and he's got the Fort Wayne Spacemen rolling, and obviously a little play on the Komets there with the colors and the logo and everything like that. I know you guys try to incorporate everybody in the hockey realm of Fort Wayne. It's collectively under the Summit City umbrella. So how cool is it to see somebody like Kaylee kind of grow the game here in Fort Wayne? Because I know you've talked to him a million times in your life.
Yeah, no, it's great. We just said, Kaylee's a lifer. It's wonderful to see that. I love to see, when guys who played for the Komets, who not necessarily are from Fort Wayne, but they stayed in town.
Your Guy Dupuis.
Your Guy Dupuis, your Dale Baldwins, your Ron Leafs, your Doug Wrigglers, the list goes on and on and on.
It's only a half-hour show.
Yeah. So, it's awesome. That's something that's very unique to Fort Wayne. No other organization probably has that, to have those guys who, after they're done playing, either they're retired as a Comet and they stick around. And we've had guys who've gone who've played other teams and then come back to Fort Wayne because it was such a great place to live and raise their families. So, that's going to breed a great hockey environment. And it's awesome, what the Spacemen do, what Indiana Tech does. All these great college now are getting their hockey programs together.
Played a game up in Trine.
Yeah, Trine, both men's and women's. So it's awesome to see Fort Wayne kind of be that kind of focal point, especially here in Indiana. The Indiana State High School Hockey Tournament has been here a few times. Indiana Tech has played games before Comet games. When you mentioned Trine, they've got a great facility up there. It is
really cool.
Wonderful. They were nice enough to let us use it for that exhibition game. So even just the whole corner of Northeast Indiana, you think of Indiana as, it's now maybe a football state. It's always been a basketball state, but here in this little corner of our state, it is Hockey Town, USA.
That is true. And a lot of fans coming out on Friday night to see the Komets take on the Indy Fuel. You got the I-69 rivalry game, and what they would see is an overtime game. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of Friday night's game against the Indy Fuel. And going into this one, you're coming off, obviously a victory against Bloomington. You feel pretty good. This was a defense-first type of game, however.
Yeah, Indy's had trouble scoring goals. We have two in certain stretches, but when at this point of the season, when you look at the lineup changing every night, we're in that state where we just can't seem to get in sync, and I think that was a lot of that was going on Friday night. You had guys who, Jaden Grube, who had missed some time back in the lineup. You had been skating with Odine. He was gone. Of course, Stefan also as well, also up in Bakersfield. Tyler Inamoto is up in Bakersfield. So now you're kind of starting to see those little cracks that we see every year where guys just come in and out of the lineup. And sometimes Indy's going through the same thing. So it's just sometimes you catch the team on the right night. And Indy, they had lost 2 against the Komets. It's a pride thing for both of these franchises to go out and beat the other one. And with us besting them 2 times in Indy, they came out very motivated. But we managed to hold the game at 1-1, but unable to get that final one in overtime.
You see the Austin McGarrett goal right there. That was on the power play. Komets. Maybe this belies the continuity that you were talking about, but 1 for 12 on the power play last week, unComets-like under Jesse Kalicki. So what is it going to take to get more power play goals? What is it going to take? Penalty kill was pretty good, but obviously you want to be a little more successful around the 20+% on the power play when it comes all said and done. How do you get that going?
Yeah, and what kind of is bad about this time of year is that you are playing a bunch of games. Obviously with the Komets not being able to play a home game until the end of November, it's kind of smushed all these games together here at home. And what that takes away is practice time. The Komets don't have very much practice time because you're playing so many games and going back to taking care of your bodies. The guys are, the coaches are not going to press these guys in practice a whole lot. So the practices are going to be, kind of limited a little bit. So it kind of takes away the time to practice the power plays and the penalty kills and the 3-on-3s when you go into overtime.
Yeah.
So that is also another thing, that the Komets, I think, have lost 4 straight now in overtime. But again, it's just something that you just don't have that much time to work on during the season. So it's just difficult. And every team is going through this. James Stefan was kind of the focal point there on the power play. He was the one getting the better of the looks, and he was out of the lineup. So it's just kind of a next man up kind of a thing. But it's nice, you got a guy like Jalen Schmerich who just runs the power play so well, and he'll find a guy out there. Austin McGarrett now is kind of taking over that spot. He's not a sniper. He's a guy who likes to stick handle. He's had some 2 pretty good wraparound goals over the last 2 games. That seems to be where he makes his money, is right there in front of the paint. And it's just sometimes a different mentality. Maybe we don't have that sniper out there. Maybe it's we got to get more traffic in front of the net. We got to make the goaltender a little uncomfortable when we're on the power play.
Yeah, you see the Owen Robinson goal there. You mentioned, it's tough when you get into overtime because of that continuity issue. But outside of that, Janssen played really well, 20 of 22. What have you seen from him most recently that makes you think impressive thoughts? Because Days played well at times as well, but boy, when you have a guy like Janssen as well, you're pretty well set up in terms of goaltending this season.
I really we can't blame the goaltending for anything at all this season.
Yeah.
Even when it kind of looks like, we went a couple weeks ago, we went back-to-back games where both goaltenders gave up 5 goals, but, that's not all on them, obviously. So, it has been insanely steady. I really can't think of a season where you had 2 goaltenders. It doesn't matter who you throw out. It's literally 1A and 1B. They don't give up soft goals. It just doesn't happen. And they're so young. They're 20, I think 21 respectively. So they actually play, they're almost seems like they're veterans. They play above their age. So, I have no doubts about these 2 going down the stretch. Usually, you feel comfortable with kind of a guy who's got a little more miles underneath him, like going into the second half of the season, especially going into the playoffs. But, Nathan Day showed it last year, when he came in and kind of saved the Komets, straight out of juniors. And he literally took the reins there in that first round of the playoffs against Iowa, won a Game 7. Come on. Goaltending is not an issue.
There is something to be said, especially in this game, for fresh legs. Well, especially when it comes around to playoff time. It's such a long, grueling season. I just remember, covering some of those, Colin Chalk, PC Druin at the beginning of the season to where he looked so much more gaunt. They lose so much weight over the course of the season because it is such a grind. Fresh legs. Sometimes those injuries where they keep you out, as long as you can come back 100%, missing a month here or a few weeks there during the middle of the season isn't always the worst thing.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I'm sure guys, again, it just comes down to what's great about this squad, up until really recently, that they've been very deep. So they have been able to give guys rest when they need it. So now the bench is now a little bit short. You had Nico Blashman pick up a 5-game suspension. That doesn't help matters. But again, yeah, you're right. It's nice to be able to give guys a break, especially you got 3 games in 3 nights. You're going to see the lineup shuffle, which is great because you do let guys get rest, but your continuity now is going to be off. So it's kind of, you're weighing it here.
All right. So obviously you played on Friday, then you play again on Saturday night, the dangerous game before the Christmas break, as you guys hosted Cincinnati at the Coliseum. Let's take a look at some of the highlights against the Cyclones. This one was a really good start. You led 3-1 at this point. But as we've talked about, sometimes closing isn't always the easiest thing right now for this Komets team. But What did you think going into this game, and what was the start like? Because, offensively, things seemed to click pretty early, and Day had some really nice saves in the first
Yeah,
period.
you scored on your first shot of the game. So
always a good start.
That's got to make you feel good. Cincinnati has had a lot of turnover with their goaltending, but both goaltenders, Tommy Scarfoni, who was a Comet for a minute last season, has come into Cincinnati, and he's done a fine job. I mean, he was really on it in that game Saturday night. So was Nathan Day. But I don't know what. I've never really seen this before because I think 4 games now, the Komets had the lead in the final minute, and they pull their goaltender, and the other team scores, and then you lose in overtime. So
Wow.
It's something that I have not seen. I don't know how to explain it, but I think of Jack Gorniak. We don't have Jack Gorniak, but in those moments, in those situations over the past couple seasons, that is where Jack Gorniak was so good. He is able to, back check. He's so fast. He goes in the corners, get dirty, and he's so fast that he's able to take that puck and dart it down and skate it out of the zone and not just dump it in, hoping for an empty net goal, but it turns into an icing, and then they get another chance. Sometimes it just comes down to who wants it more, and in those final minutes, it comes down to face-off, it comes down to puck control, it comes down to skating the puck out of the zone, and sometimes, if you're at the end of your shift there at the end, you're just going to waffle it out of the end, and hopefully good things happen. But it's a strange phenomenon, the way the Komets have lost 4 games here since Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and you take a look at this one. I want to throw the stat out there. Cincinnati actually outshot you 36-32, so there's the game right there.
Yeah.
No, it was actually the only game last week in which the Komets were outshot. But again, quality of opportunity is number one. How do you bounce back from a game like this? Like what? The next week is going to be such a blur for these guys. A lot of them going home, coming back. How do they get refocused when it comes to playing on Friday night after a Sunday off, a holiday, most likely a trip for some of these guys, and then they're back to business in hockey? How do you hit the ground running on Friday, given that this week is atypical relative to every other week that you have during the ECHL season?
Yeah, and then you have other things obviously going on around you as well.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I know the answer to the question, but that's something where you're going to lean on your senior leadership. It's the Alex Aliartis, it's the Anthony Petrozellis, it's the Jalen Schmericks, it's the guys who have been through this grind, and just to educate the young kids on how to handle yourself over this holiday break. Because you're going to go in and you're going to hit the ground running on Friday night with 3 games in 3 nights, and you're going to play Toledo Saturday, and the Komets have a 2-point lead right now on Toledo, and Toledo's got 2 games in hand. So even though the Komets have managed to just hang on to that top spot, now things are getting a little uncomfortable.
All right, so let's take a look at the ECHL standings because obviously, you're at a break point in the season with the holiday break. Komets currently on top right now with 27 games in the books. They got 36 points. Toledo bearing down right now, 34 points, only 2 points back, but they've played 2 less games. So it's getting a little bit dicier at the top, whereas that lead has been more over the course of the first couple of months of the season. How much do you score watch at this point? At all? If you're the Komets?
Yeah, I mean,
do you score watch Toledo? Do you score watch Bloomington, or do you not even care about that at this point?
I think you do.
Always?
I mean, you want to. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I do that. I'm not going to speak for the players.
There you go.
There you go. I mean, none of the fans are. But, the players, they could just be focused. We can't control what goes on in other games. We can only control the 2 points in front of us. Toledo, just the way the scheduling goes, always seems to have a couple games in their pocket. So this means the head-to-head games just carry that much more weight. Depending on what happens Friday, Saturday night, these 2 teams could be tied, or the Komets could have a 2-point cushion or a 1-point cushion. Don't know, but you just got to worry about the team in front of you. You got 3 division games coming up, all winnable games, obviously, but you can't look past Toledo. You want your revenge on Indy, and you've played really well against Cincinnati, so these games are going to be big. But you just need to worry about the team that you're playing that night.
All right, so obviously the Komets are in first place. It's been a good October, a good November, a pretty good December. But so far, the 2025-26 season has gone well, at least the 2025 part of it. Of course, we've got a lot of hockey left. Things get serious, it feels like, after the holiday break, so we'll definitely be breaking that down here on Komets Corner. But for Shane Albahrani, I'm Glenn Marini, and that is this week's edition of Komets Corner, brought to you, as always, by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
You're watching Komets Corner.